The world wants to go home, but it cannot, nor can it make its home here, no matter how hard it tries. Things that should not have been forgotten have long been covered over, and an older and a better world has passed. The land of song in which the valleys once rang, where coal miners once sang as they went down into the pit, and as they reappeared when the day's work was done, no longer has a great deal to even sing about. The song which captured the hearts of tens of thousands, with which the valleys once resounded, has for long decades been forgotten, and the land of song has all but gone silent. But we have to ask ourselves, what if there was once something which we miss, that magical place of home?
A little aside from the main road, becalmed in a last century greyness, there is the chapel, ugly, without the appeal to the tourist to stop his car and visit it. The traffic goes by, and the river goes by, and quick shadows of clouds too, and the chapel settles a little deeper into the grass. But here once, on an evening like this, in the darkness that was about his hearers, a preacher caught fire and burned steadily before them with a strange light, so that they saw the splendour of the barren mountains about them, and sang their amens fiercely, narrow but saved in a way that men are not now.
We've long looked down on those that have gone before us simply because of the fact that we lived after them, and from some moral high ground dismissed their world and their religion. A slumber has set in across the land, locking us into grief and yearning, which has cut us off from our true home. A spell is needed to break this deep enchantment, a good spell, good news from a faraway land, our true home that has been lost. You have to wonder if there is anyone who could even tell us about our long lost home. Has there ever been anyone who has been able to give sight to the blind, make the deaf hear, and raise the dead to life? There has been one person in all the history of the world, and only one. We've heard from Lewis and Lenin, from Thomas and Eliot, and now we listen to him. Albert Einstein is a man who needs no introduction. His name has become synonymous with genius. And yet even Einstein, once asked what he thought about this other man, famously replied, "I am a Jew, but I am enthralled by the luminous figure of the Nazarene." In other words, the most brilliant mind of the last century looked up to this man, as countless others have done all around the world. Napoleon Bonaparte, the century before, one of the greatest leaders of all time, once famously said, "I know men, and I tell you that Jesus Christ was not an ordinary man." Superficial minds see resemblance between Christ and the founders of empires and the gods of other religions. That resemblance does not exist. There is between Christianity and other religions the distance of infinity. If there's ever been anyone who did not need an introduction, it's the one that Einstein looked up to, that Napoleon Bonaparte fell down before, the one who is the very center of world culture and civilization, whose birth in Bethlehem stopped the clock, ushering in a whole new era of history, turning sunset to sunrise in the ancient world. His advent at Christmas time was the lights going on all across the globe, and very soon people from all over ran to him, trampling one another, pushing through the crowds, tearing the tiles off roofs, crossing seas and deserts just to get near him. Who is this unique individual who comes to us across the pages of history? Those who knew him best, who had watched him up close for some years, concluded that he was not only the founder of a new way of life, but the founder of all life, the founder of the universe and the master of the galaxies, older and bigger than the cosmos, having always lived through endless ages as the eternal and everlasting Son of God the Father. Given his identity and who he is, we wouldn't expect anything less than that his coming down among us should change everything forever. Walking onto the stage of human history, he burst as sunrise on a dark and weary world. He overwhelmed and overturned the whole ancient world simply by being himself, living the way he had always lived, but now as one of us. At different times in its long history, almost the whole land of Wales has bowed at his feet and resounded with songs of what he has done, as his name has been reverenced and honoured right across the land. It would be very strange indeed to not listen to what the greatest man that has ever lived has to say about home. Was there anything before what we call history? What if we were able to turn back the pages of the family photo album, back before we were even a twinkle in our father's eye, back before our father and his father before him, and keep turning back the pages in the album of the land of my fathers? What would we find? Nothing but blank, empty pages? No, back before our families, our family homes and homelands, the land of our fathers, Jesus opens up an album which is better and more wonderful than anything we could ever have imagined. It's good news from before the dawn of time, of that home we are homesick for, whose loss we grieve and mourn, which calls to us through the best and happiest moments of our past, like the scent of a flower we have not found, the echo of a tune we haven't heard, and news from a country we haven't yet visited. We wouldn't see blank pages, but rather pages filled with light and life, glory and wonder, adventures and stories and amazing things too good for us to conceive or even imagine. Back behind, before and above our parents and homes and the land of our fathers, we would find another land. The land of a father, the Father. In our photo album of the universe before the galaxies, there is the Father and his Son and the Holy Spirit. The Father always begetting his Son, showering his love out upon him throughout infinite ages. The Son always receiving from his Father. The Spirit eternally proceeding from the love of the Father and the Son and uniting them together in wonderful fellowship. You know, we might simply say that the Father, Son and Spirit have always enjoyed such glory, joy and fellowship that it was too good to keep it to themselves, and so the whole universe was brought into being as the overflow of their life and overwhelming generosity. Their wish to share what they had always enjoyed, together with countless others, brought into their own life forever.
Before the land of my fathers, further back than any of our arts and science can get us, is the fatherland, the land of the Father, who is good and strong and eternal, who has always lived through infinite ages, who was long revered and honoured throughout the land of Wales as the great benefactor of the cosmos. You and all the world live not by chance or cruel fate, but because of the overflowing goodness of the Father, Son, and Spirit, who are love, full of love for one another and overflowing in that love towards us, to make us and bring us into their life and family forever.
And so the great project began. The first chapter of the most beautiful story was written as the universe was founded as a colossal family home, assembled as a playground big enough to house us all, with space to spread out and to flourish. And the Son of God, Jesus Christ, set to work, overcoming the darkness as the light of life, ordering, assembling, and structuring the cosmos, and filling the world to overflowing with living things, everything intricate and immeasurably complex, known and loved and cared for by the Father, Son, and Spirit. From the cattle of 1,000 hills down to the little sparrow, and all the stars numbered and brought out one by one. And finally, at the last, after everything was prepared in the cosmic home, assembled and made ready, our ancient ancestors, our first parents, were made from the dust of the ground and were brought into being to live and rest in this paradise where they were so loved.
And so do we mean then that that was in fact our true home? Yes! And what a world they opened their eyes to for the very first time, of unimaginable beauty, fascinating and intriguing. And yet even this was all eclipsed by the one who stood before them, with them in paradise, whose majesty and beauty were enough to fill the whole horizon and to be their universe. The one who had always received, who would forever share all that he had with them, would love them, care for them, and provide for them as his very own, with infinite resources of love and kindness and generosity which he had always received from his Father. An incredible future stretched out before them, with an infinite vista of possibilities, what plans and ambitions he had for them, the things they would do together, the places they would go, the things they would see, what they would build and design and write, produce and achieve together, with every day better than the one before. It was there that all our deepest longings and needs were met. It was the place we belonged, where we were known and loved and able to be ourselves. That was our true home.
And yet, far back in our distant past, our earliest ancestors did not want this, and tragically threw it all away. They stepped out of that glorious purpose for which they had been made and fell down, plunging themselves and all of their descendants after them down into darkness, despair, and death, far from home. We have all felt its haunting and lingering memories, calling us through our own families, homes, and the lands of our fathers, to the call of a place we cannot get back to, because we are on the wrong side of things, with the door to our true home firmly closed against us, far away in the far country, exiled and lost. We are far from home, separated by time and space, distanced on the outside physically and geographically, just as we are on the inside of our hearts, which are far from him.
How could we ever really know that that lost world was real? We could know if it was real if there was a way back to that place that we feel homesickness for, all of our lives which we feel that nostalgia for and grieve the loss of and yearn for, to that home which maybe was after all. In other words, we could know if it was real if we found the way home.